Hi guys, and welcome to the latest episode of Brown Car Guy and Buddies. Yes, the series is back. This playlist has returned to my channel. I took a little bit of a break from this, but I'm kicking it back off again, and I'm doing it in style with a fascinating person that's going to be my first guest here, a guy called Dervish Dervish. He's so cool. Yes, they named him twice. And he recently had me on his podcast, so check him out, Full Throttle with Dervish. I'll put the links below in the description. But he is amazing because not only has he been a chef, but he's also been an engineer in automotive, aeronautical and aerospace. So he's worked on Ford products. He's worked on things like the Apache gunship and the Mars Rover. It is going to be absolutely fascinating talking to him. So I'm going to talk to him about his name, about working at Ford, working on airplanes, what his favorite thing was, about working on space stuff, and also where he thinks the future is going in terms of, well, why aren't we riding around in starships yet, but also in terms of automotive as well. You know, what is the future technology that we can hope to see in cars? It's going to be an absolutely fascinating discussion. Can't wait to get into that. Before we do that, make sure that you are subscribing to youtube.com/Brown Car Guy. Make sure you also follow me on browncarguy.com. And don't forget to look me up on all the social media. There's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even TikTok. Just search for my hashtag. It is hashtag Brown Car Guy. And if you enjoy my content, you can, of course, also sponsor it at patreon.com/Brown Car Guy. I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. Cool. Let's get into this. Hey, Dervish, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks so much for featuring me on your podcast. That was absolutely fantastic. It was an honor to be on there, honor to be asked.
Yeah, no, that was good. It was a lot of fun, man. I love speaking to people, especially people that know about cars. And so, yeah, it was good.
No, it's absolutely fascinating. So I thought I'd, repay the honor and have you on mine. And you actually will be, I think, the inaugural one for this year, for 2021. So
Okay.
because I took a little bit of a break from these, but I want to kick them back off. And so you're the one that's inaugurating it. Now, I've got to start. We're going to get, you're a fascinating guy with an incredible background in engineering, not just automotive, but aerospace. And I've got to get into that. I mean, Asimo wants to get into it as well. So, what I'm going to ask you, first is, your name. It's so good they named you twice. I mean, what? Dervish Dervish, which to me conjures up images of Sufi monks. So what's the superhero origin story of that name?
So I can go on a bit about this. So just cut me off if I do. But so I was named after my granddad, which was also Dervish Dervish, and recently I asked my mother why she named me twice. Because I do get a lot of comments. Some people think I'm taking a liberty and piss out of them. Some people just say, like you just said, so good they named you twice. Some people, they're actually quite rude about it and say, "Oh, did your mum not have any brain cells?" Or they'll go into something like disrespectful like that. And I'm like, well, okay, fair enough, whatever. But I've found in the past few years, it's seen me in good stead. So it's actually been an advantage because people won't forget my name. People won't forget that name.
What's the origin of the name itself?
So the origins are it does go back to the Sufi monks of Turkey and the Persian Gulf, if you like. But I remember meeting somebody at a dinner party a few years ago, and they said, "Dervish, your name is so interesting. Do you know what it means?" And I said, "To be honest, no, I don't know what it means." And what it means is humble one. It means it's like almost like a monk, but with a scroll and kind of like a funny hat, who goes from village to village and gives his knowledge. Yeah. So he's powerful in that aspect. Wow. And that's what it kind of means in a way. Yeah. And I guess that that points to why I am always helpful with people.
It also, I mean, it fits perfectly, isn't it? Because here you are doing a podcast with, this incredible breadth of knowledge, experience, and skill sets that you have, and you're imparting a lot of that to other people. So I think that's absolutely incredible,
Yeah. Knowledge sharing is one of my biggest loves. If I know something, I like to share it with people. I think my name suggests that's what I was always going to do, really. But yes, it's an interesting name, and a couple of times in my teens, I did think of changing my name because I was being a little bit bullied at school and college for my name. But I actually love my name, and people do remember me all over the world.
No, absolutely. No, stand by it. No, I mean, to be honest, like as you, when I was a kid here in school, I did have issues with my name as well. But you know what? That's a whole different story, which we won't get into today. But you know what? But yeah, stand by it. I think it's fantastic. I love it. I think it's brilliant. But I also love what you do, which I mean, oh my God. I mean, just touching on some of the stuff. I mean, the Eurofighter, the Mars Rover. You've been an engineer with Ford. Give us a little bit of a snapshot of how you embarked on this path and got to do some of these incredibly cool things.
So another long story, I'll cut short. But basically, I was a chef when I left school. I was a chef from 16 to 18. I was a chef at the Goring Hotel in London, and famous people like the president, the prime minister, the Queen Mother used to eat there regularly once a week.
Oh, right.
So it was a 5-star, I think it's now Michelin star restaurant inside the Goring Hotel. And I became an apprentice chef. So I went to college 4 times a week and went to college once a week at the Westminster College, which is where, what's his name went? Oh, God, what's his name? Not Gordon Ramsay. What's the other? Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver was a year above me, I think, or a year below me. And then I just realised that I don't...
you're properly trained chef then. You are actually,
Well, a couple of years.
Wow.
I was there for a couple of years doing intense chef work. I mean, literally, if you weren't moving quick enough, they used to put oil on the floor so you would slide. Literally, that's how ruthless it can be in a kitchen. And I said to my dad, look, my dad was an engineer in the army, the British Army.
Right.
And I said, let me try and be an engineer. What do I like doing?
I guess that oil probably lent itself to some theories of dynamic momentum.
Yeah, definitely. So
that's a nice segue into engineering there. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And with French clogs on as well, you do slide. Yeah, French clogs, wooden soled clogs.
Why
you do slide.
Why are you wearing those?
Do you know what? I've never worked out why chefs wear clogs. I'm assuming it's for the hygiene region.
I see.
So just for hygienic reasons, really. But I've never worked out. I still eat in that restaurant.
There you go.
Once or twice a year. It's the most delicious food. So anybody that's out there, go to the Goring. It's the most beautiful setting, especially for romantic dinners with your missus or with your girlfriend. It's a lovely place. But anyway, so I decided to embark on engineering. So I went to college, done engineering 3 or 4 years. And then I looked at the university degrees and I thought, I like aerospace and I like space stuff. So let me go down that route. So I went to Kingston University, done an aeronautical degree, which I came out in 2001 with that degree. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to go for British Aerospace because I liked what they were doing at the time and their projects were so interesting. So then what happened was my university tutor said to me, don't bother because they only take the best of the best. I'm not the best engineer in the world. I'll be the first one to admit that. I'm not the worst. So eventually they said to me, oh, don't go for that company. That's like a red rag to a bull with me. If they say you can't do something, I'm going to concentrate on doing it now. So I actually got in. I actually got in there and done the graduate scheme with them, and then just started working straight away on Harrier jump jets, Tornado, GR4s, I think they were.
So when you say working on them, what were you doing? I mean, was it development? Was it engineering? Was it maintenance? What were you doing with these amazing? I mean, Apache. You worked on an Apache. I mean,
yeah,
wow.
So one of my jobs on the Apache gunship was that during the Iraq War, one of them got shot down by an a shoulder launched ground to surface missile, I think it was. So the idea was to try and make sure that the electronic defense system of that helicopter is working correctly and efficiently. And one of the issues they had was that the engines were permitting too much heat for the sensor to pick up that rocket coming in.
Oh, I see.
Because if it picked it up, it would have warned the pilot, and the pilot could have made a left or a right turn. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we did was to look at what needs to be redesigned around that sensor to make the heat go away from that area. And all it was a plate. It was just a 4 or 5 mil plate made out of titanium. And so we designed that and got it tested. You have to stress test everything and stuff. So we did that. As a whole, we don't work on the whole spacecraft or the whole structure of an aircraft. You get given a small portion of
right.
For example,
it's like a problem-solving thing. You get individual projects. You get right. This is an issue. See how we can solve this.
Yeah. So at Ford, for example, Ford. I was a body in white design engineer, which meant that the whole body of the car was given from the design studio to us to formulate and to design in the CAD station. You have an envelope, and you can't go out of that envelope. So there's a maximum size of a panel you can design. And thinking about it, you've got to make sure that all the internal electrical structure and everything is encompassed within that. You can't go out of it.
So just to try and make people understand this, so this is the car has been designed, it's been styled, it's about to go to production, but they've sent you the panels to make sure that actually everything will fit as it's supposed to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so in a design, in a car design project, the first thing would be it will be made of clay, mm-hmm. or wood. Some companies use wood, and then what they would do is they will measure those A surfaces. They call them A surfaces, and they will measure that and then transfer it into a 3D model. That model then gets sent to the CAD people like me and design people like me, and then we would then start to design and surface each panel from their data, and then any internal movement in the structure. For example, if there's a harness that needs to go up a certain way and go around the corner slightly or whatever, you would then redesign the bracketry underneath the panel.
Right.
But you have to keep within the A surfaces. You can't, and unless you've got a signed document from the chief engineer to say, actually, this Lotus, for example, that you've got behind you has to be 1 mil wider on each panel. Mm-hmm. There has to be a sufficient a reason for that, and you have to prove that.
So this is the if you like the unsexy nitty-gritty of car design and production, which with the stuff that doesn't get talked about, car launches and stuff like that, but it's the really crucial stuff about how everything actually fits into a vehicle.
Yeah, and it's looking at and normally if a harness needs to be changed, it's the last thing that they change on a car. I don't know if you know that. So the harnessing team, the electrical team within any company would be the most stressed team in that company, because if an airbox needs to go down here and your wiring's there, the wiring people have to move it. That's the rule.
Right.
You won't ask the air vent to be moved. It'll be the air vent's going there. The wiring has to now be rerouted around it.
So there's like a hierarchy in teams and projects.
Yeah, and the spacecraft industry is very similar as well in that aspect. But because obviously wires can move and they can be bended around and manipulated, so I guess that's why. But this raises a very interesting question.
Because
Yeah.
is this the reason why, whenever we've seen faults in cars over the last few years, because cars are very well built, designed, engineered these days, but whenever we have seen faults, it's because inadvertently there's been overheating of some wiring loom or something like that, which has caught fire. Is that possibly why? Because these things are kind of left to the end.
It could be. I can't say to you 100% because I'm not an expert in wiring and looms and stuff, but I do think that has some part to play in it. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I guess with my engineering career from the start, I mean, I went from being an ILS engineer, which is an integrated logistics support engineer, which is reliability, maintainability, testability, serviceability engineer, to then going to the design office at British Aerospace, to then going to be a quality engineer for a software company who make CAD software and developing and researching the next year's products and bringing them to the market. And then last 13, I think 12 years, I've been working in the space industry. And with me, I've been pushed towards the Earth observation vehicle departments.
So what is that exactly? Define that.
So within the space industry, you've got telecommunication satellites, which are fairly standard platforms. So the platform will be A, B, and C, and A, B, and C platform structure will be all the same. However, they will be able to do different things and go to different areas of space. The Earth observation side is very, very hard to stay in because every spacecraft is different. So Solar Orbiter was different to the Mars Rover. The Mars Rover went to the Mars. It's going to go to Mars. So Solar Orbiter was looking at the sun, and I think it's looking at the sun's damage on Earth, I think.
Right.
But it needs to see a lot of heat. So the thermal aspects had to be beefed up on that spacecraft, whereas the Mars Rover, it's not going to see huge temperatures, but it will see rough terrain. So for example, the wheels had to be designed in a specific place. I think in Switzerland or Austria, somebody designed those, so that it can go around Mars without, having too many problems getting over the terrain, really.
So what for you has been the project that sort of excited you the most, and really got, because you're obviously a petrolhead as well, and you get to work on something like the Mars Rover, but both professionally and emotionally, what is the project that you've gone, this is something that, this is my pinnacle of what I want to do?
You're gonna laugh now. You know that you're gonna really laugh. You're
gonna tell me it's paper straws or something, aren't you?
It's not far off. The first Koenig's egg that came out. So I helped design the gear stick for that car.
All right. This is a CCX, isn't it? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think I've driven that one.
Have you? Blimey. Yeah. So for me, that's probably the most rewarding in my eyes thing, because I'm a petrolhead.
Yeah.
That I was looking at the Mars Rover a few years back when we were in the clean rooms at work, and you're double masked up. You can only see through your mask. Then you've got glasses through that. They keep steaming up.
This is how you have to work.
Yeah. So let me explain a bit about that. So if you ever get to go on a tour of any space company, which you can book online, I think, if you wanted to go into the Mars Rover area, for example, you would have to, first of all, you'd have to go on a training course about cleanliness. So that's not cleanliness as in having a shower. It's cleanliness as in what you can touch, what you can't touch.
Right.
By a planetary protection officer.
Wow.
They do exist. Wow. Yeah.
That's a heck of a business card.
Yeah. And he's an interesting guy, actually. He's an Italian guy, Silvio. He's a really nice guy.
I want to see the badge, Planetary Protection Officer.
Yeah. So their job is
we get rid of the scum of the universe. Is that their motto?
Yeah. Well, what their job is really, Shazad, is to make sure that we don't pollute another planet.
Yeah, of course.
We don't incriminate. Sorry, not incriminate. We don't
contaminate.
Contamination onto a spacecraft that is going to that planet.
Yeah.
And because
we're talking microbes, bacteria. We're talking literally like microscopic stuff that could go on another planet and basically compromise the atmosphere or the ambience of that planet.
Yeah. So, for example, I want to put a unit, just a metal unit, which is I don't know, it might be a antenna unit, onto the Mars Rover platform. What do I need to do that? Right. The bolts need to go into an oven. They're cooked at, I don't know, 100 degrees. There's a chart that you look at and you say, what material is it? And this is the temperature I need to take it to make sure it's clean before it goes into the clean room to get put onto the spacecraft.
Wow. And this is only for a couple of bolts.
This is for everything. It could be hand tools. It could be everything. So everything has to be cleaned properly. So it could be cleaned with using an IPA. So it's like a non-alcoholic cleaner.
Right.
Or it could be just put into the ovens that we've got in the office that we then have to bag up afterwards and make sure it stays clean. But then we have to double glove, double suit.
Wow.
We have to go for an air cleaner, which blows from head to toe, and make sure that all your hairs, sometimes you've got stray hairs on your body.
Yeah.
All that gets blown away.
So this is like the sonic shower in Star Trek, is it?
Yeah. And then you go for a chamber. You shut the door behind you. You shut that door. Then you go. It takes half an hour to just get in the room.
So let's move on from there. As you know, and as you can see, I've always been a huge science fiction fan. And as a kid, I used to watch shows like Space 1999 and obviously Star Trek and all the rest of it. And I figured, like, by this point in my life, I believed that there would be a resort on the moon, that we'd be regularly going to Mars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because especially when you look at the 60s and at that point, what we were achieving, and so quickly, at that point. And yet here we are, in 2021, and we don't even have a supersonic airliner anymore, which is also another travesty. So what happened, dude? What happened?
Well, I think the engineering challenges we've got in front of us are far more than what we're capable of at this point. Technology is moving quicker than it was back in the 60s and 70s, but we still got some time to go before we actually have life on another planet.
But we're talking what, over 50 years since the first launching into not even to the moon but into space, and this is the time when we'd only just invented these extraordinary weapons to kill each other, such as hydrogen bombs and stuff like that. But you would think that with the computerization, with the technology, with the materials and everything we've got, it's like, how comes? Is it just a lack of investment? Is it a lack of will? Because remember the famous speech. We choose to go to the moon not because we have to, but because it's there. Is it that lack of that motivation, that drive is not there anymore?
No, I think like, for example, when you look at Elon Musk, for example, he's changed the game dramatically. So when 10 years ago, when I first started in the space industry, I remember looking at the rockets that we were using to get spacecraft to space, thinking these are backwards technology machines. What are we using here?
Yeah.
And it was explained to me that we were using old intercontinental ballistic missiles to get to space. And I said, but So what they would do is they'd take the warhead off the top of it, and they would put a satellite inside it and launch it. Now, launching a spacecraft into a lower Earth orbit is not a big deal. It's not a big challenge. I think there are independent companies doing that now. Private limited companies doing it. I think Elon Musk now has changed the ball game by actually saying, here's $1 billion I'm going to put into research and development of a rocket that can return back and be reused. And now NASA is shitting their pants saying, Jesus, this guy's just come along and shown us that we can do it. And now that's pushing them along to do more research and development quicker. Because I don't know whether you know it, the aerospace industry and the space industry is so slow.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point. But I think that, that again does come, like you say, it comes, a lot of these things, I mean, like you touched upon it there, and it's tragic, but it's also very relevant in the sense that a lot of these things come out of conflict, don't they? Because all the technology that we had at the end of the Second World War was because of the wars, sad as it is to say, but it's because, like you say, we were able to go to space because we were able to utilize all of this technology, this very dangerous technology that we'd created for the war. But since then, obviously, we've had, obviously there's been conflicts around the world, but globally we've had a, peaceful, half a century or so. So I wonder if that's one of the reasons. And I wonder if, that whole, and the space race obviously started because of the conflict between America and Russia. They wanted to see who could be the first to get into space and all the rest of it. So do you think that's what it is? It just requires, basically conflict. It just requires something to go, oh my God, we've got to be before that. We've got to be quicker than Virgin, or we've got to be quicker than, Elon Musk or whatever.
But that's what it's always been about. China's always tried to beat America. America's always tried to beat Russia. There seem to be, there's always been this space race, always. I just think it takes time to develop a structure that humans can go inside and be transported from A to B without killing them.
It's right there.
I mean,
just quickly before we get into, I want to come back. I want to bring this back to cars, because that's what this is about. But just quickly, it's like, will it ever be possible to get to that stage? Are we ever going to have faster than light travel and be planet hopping in starships like that?
Yes, I think so. I think not in our lifetime.
Right.
Not in our lifetime, but
humanity will get there. Just the thought of that is awesome. Okay, you know what? Let's bring this back to cars. You've obviously worked on a lot of technology, a lot of developments. You've worked on space. You worked on aeronautical stuff. And we know a lot of this stuff eventually starts to filter down to cars. We know a lot of motorsport stuff, and F1 stuff filters down to cars. How do you see cars developing? I mean, there's a lot of talk of autonomous technologies in cars. There's a lot of talk of electric vehicles and stuff like that. What do you think are going to be the fundamental shifts that we're going to see in the next, say, 5 to 10 years in our motoring lives?
That's an interesting question, because the petrol head in me doesn't want to go to electric. But I think governments are pushing in that direction to go with electric. And I think it's some more of a political, like the Concorde was grounded, it was political and motivated by money. It wasn't motivated by the safety of that aircraft. Same as the car situation. I think if the oil starts to run out, they've got to look at alternative resources. I think we're going to go down the electric route. We're starting to prepare for it now. But I think within the next 10 years, I think they're going to struggle to get electric cars to be on every drive in the world. They won't do it. They won't do it. That's certain. I'm sure of that. Now, when you look at Boris Johnson's push to be 2030, we want no more diesel cars sold or petrol cars sold. Again, Roger Atkins might have a problem with me saying this, but I can't see it happening. I don't see it. it's going to work, because you need an infrastructure behind it. You need to, if I charge in my car using my house, and everyone on this estate is using the same, surely that's going to drain the system.
Yeah, no,
and that's
absolutely.
going to have
I mean,
impact.
you have multiple issues there. First of all, I mean, yes, they've talked about, increasing power stations, more windmill farms and stuff like that. But the SMMT, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, have recently put out a release, quite rightly, saying that, in order to achieve that target, we need to be installing 700 additional chargers per day between now and the end of the year to get anywhere near the number of chargers we're going to need.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I guess the infrastructure has to be there to start with first before we go down that route. Now,
what about autonomous technologies? Do you think people talk about the car that's going to drive itself? Personally, I'm highly skeptical. What's your viewpoint on it?
My viewpoint is that you can never remove a human being from a functionality. If you want to be able to see a car coming from the left or the right, or you want to see a child that's running out on the road because he's chasing his ball, the autonomous system will be able to detect it. It might be 99% detectable. So there's always that 1% that there's a chance that kid could get run over, or that car could be crashed into. I know they've been testing. I know there's been some crashes and some issues over the past few years. Funny enough, I was talking with Roger Atkins about this. I don't know whether you know him. He's an EV specialist. And he reckons that where we're going to be in about 5 to 10 years is that no one's going to own a car. So what's going to happen is you will go on your app, on your phone, you'll say, I want to go to Greenwich Park, and a car will turn up outside your house to pick you up with no driver. And along the way, it might pick up 1 or 2 other people, and it will take you from A to B. So you pay for that service. So you don't pay out for a car. But I can't see that working, because I think maybe in 100 years or so. Yeah. But I can't see it working. And AI is still being developed. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I can't see how the autonomous side of things is going to work in the world. And if you look at the world, Germany, Spain, Italy, the most, America, Japan, these are countries that are highly technically advanced already. They're the only countries that can probably do it, which means that the majority of the world really is not going to be AI or autonomous.
So we'll be some way behind that. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, even from the current systems that I've tried in cars, they're not foolproof. And they're just one aspect of what the car is going to need to do. And I think that an AI system needs to exist that can actually predict human behavior. To have that kind of gut intuition that we have when we're driving, I don't think a computer can do that yet. No. And I agree with you. I think we're a good 10, 15, 20 years at least minimum away from anything like that. So yeah, no, it's far off. Mate, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. We've hit our 30 minutes. You see, I've always say I will try to keep these to 30 minutes, and this year I'm going to be a little bit more disciplined about these because I always end up going over. But I think we could do this for hours, and we'll probably do it again soon. But it's absolutely fascinating talking to you and listening about the incredible stuff that you've been working on and doing in the past. All power to you, man. Tell people how they can find you, because now you do a podcast as well. Yeah, so my podcast is Full Throttle with Dervish, and if you go on my Instagram, Full Throttle with Dervish, you'll find the link tree to my Facebook page, my LinkedIn, and
and my YouTube channel, which has only just been kind of launched in the last couple of months, really, and that has all my podcasts on there. And I'm on Patreon as well. So my Patreon is, let me just have a quick glance at my Patreon, because my Patreon is quite new as well at the moment. Patreon.
So whilst you're doing that, Patreon is a fantastic facility where you can go and support your favorite content creators. I also have a Patreon account, and obviously the links will come up at the end of this. But it's a fantastic way to endorse content creators, to support them, and to sponsor their content. So it's a very, very useful tool.
Yeah. So just go on Patreon and type in Full Throttle with Dervish, and it will come up. Support me. I only ask for a $5 for a month for supporting the show and getting good content to my listeners, really. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
That's awesome. Dervish, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll catch up again soon.
Mate, perfect. Thank you very much for your time and inviting me on your podcast, and hopefully we'll meet face to face soon.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, cheers, man. Take care.
Right.
Thank you. All right, bye.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. And you know what? Leave a comment and share it if you can. And of course, you're subscribing, right? To youtube.com/browncarguy. Of course, also to browncarguy.com. And follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even on TikTok. Just search for my hashtag. It is #browncarguy. And you know what? If you enjoy my content, you can sponsor it as well. And you can do that at patreon.com/browncarguy. And your name will appear like these gentlemen coming up here on my content at the end of the video, in my written text, and on some of my Instagram posts. And that's a reach of 350,000 views in total on my YouTube channel, 2,000 plus subscribers, nearly 8,000 followers on Instagram. So you know what, if you have something to promote, you're most welcome to do that, and you can do that from as little as £2 or $2 a month, the price of buying me a coffee. You do that, right? And you can join this incredible lineup coming up on the screen, which of course includes Muhammad Humaid over in UAE, Partha Srinivasan in India, Tom Conway Gordon here in the UK, Isaac Boshard over in America, Reza Adil here in the UK, also Muhammad Qasim here, Siraj Abbasi here, Mark Waddell in Canada, Zaka Kogiani over in America, and a dear childhood school buddy of mine, Shaheer Hakki, also over in America. See your name coming up here. Just head over to patreon.com/browncarguy, and I'll see you all in the next video.